Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into another episode of the Psychotherapist Podcast. I am your psycho host, Malcolm Clancy, and with me is my therapist co-host, Dr. Bob. We got 3 agenda items for this psychotherapy session. Number 1 is how television has been a never-ending source of evil and darkness within the Clancy household. Agenda item 2, I asked Bob, given his experience working with the military, what he thinks about Biden's crackdown of supposed extremists within the United States military. Agenda item 3, I go off my meds for a few days and I completely lose my mind. So it's a real fun episode. I hope you guys enjoy. We'll get a quick word from our sponsors and then we'll kick this shit in gear. Today's show is brought to you by Faces Brewing Company. Faces Brewing Company is a brewery that offers not only a sick selection of fine craft beers that you won't find anywhere else, they offer a nice menu of bites to eat while you sample drinks, while you have a good time, while you have some beers that isn't that usual lame mainstream store shit. Fucking Bud Lights, who wants that shit? Check out facesbrewing.com. Check out their store for their fine selection of food and drinks, and while you're at it, pick up a gift card, get a hoodie or a sick hat. That's facesbrewing.com, Malden, Massachusetts. Check them out. Good morning.
Morning, Malcolm. Sorry I'm running late. I'm trying to line up some people to clean my snow so that I can get to an important appointment at Dana-Farber on Monday. But nobody wants to work.
Isn't that a bitch?
Yeah, and tomorrow's the Super Bowl, so my chances are slim and none. And Slim left town a little while ago, so
Yeah.
I'm going into plan D. So that's why I was running late with phone calls. I'm just going down the list of people, and of course, nobody wants to be interrupted for the 6 hours around the Super Bowl. But anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
so I'm gonna just have to apologize and ask you to really try to speak up and project for this episode because I'm outside, and
How about if I just move this a little closer? How's that? I'll move this closer and I'll turn up my volume. Okay.
all right,
How's that?
a little better.
Okay. Probably the best I can do.
All right, we'll roll with it. So.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I can do much better than this.
Yeah.
I'm on max volume and I've got it as close as I can to me. So.
If only I could control the weather, or just get rid of all the people in my house.
Right.
Yeah, my dad needs to work in the basement right now, so,
Oh. Okay.
if as long as I get a session with you, I don't care if I lose a recording. So let's just do it.
Yeah. Well, forget about the recording. Let's just do the session. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry about the recording. The session's more important.
Definitely. I'm still gonna record, just hopefully it won't be as bad when I hear back, but if it is, I won't pull my hair out trying to edit it and finagle it.
Definitely not. We have other opportunities to record, okay?
For sure.
So let's just get right into it.
Alright, so we'll start with the well, actually, can I give you a pop quiz, Bob?
Yeah.
So, I recall the last episode, you saying our podcast connected more with people in my generation as opposed to yours. Why do you think that is? And how can I better pander to them?
Well, I think you're more entertaining than I am, basically. I think that they find you more than they can connect with. just your jargon, your humor, and some of the things you make reference to.
I think you're deflecting.
There's not much we can do about that, really.
I think you're deflecting, but that's okay. We'll move on.
Okay, all right.
So number one, the TV being a problem in my house.
Yeah.
So, I know you mentioned a few times, like, is it the news? And I think that actually, is kind of like a subtopic of that agenda item, because there's a real, fear of disease in my household,
Okay.
and it seems to be ramped up all the time. Whoop. And, everyone's kind of decided that I'm sort of the harbinger of death, I guess.
Okay.
For example, just me being outside disturbs Caitlin, and it used to disturb my mom, but I kind of have done it enough where she's not as worried about it, because I actually started this when I moved to Medford. Gradual sort of cold exposure. So, just go out, meditate for a few minutes or whatever, try to get used to it. And, if I would never put myself in a position where if I was actually like shivering and felt like I was going to die, I would just sit there,
Yeah, I would hope not.
No, I'm not that. It wasn't any kind of like stupid, bullheaded, let's see how cold I can get. It's
Right.
it's just like, let's just try to, it's a wee uncomfortable, but let's just, try to get used to it. And
Yeah, it's not Navy SEALs training, so.
no. So it does actually help me quite a bit, and it's just good for me to get fresh air and sunlight.
That's true. Very, very true.
Yeah, and, but this is, of course, going to give me pneumonia and kill everyone. And everyone for a while was convinced I had COVID, because of the tiredness thing, and I missed a night of sleep and took a, nap or whatever, because I didn't sleep at all the night before. And it really has started to feel like, have you seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Long time ago.
that scene where it's like, bring out your dead, and then the guy carries an old man on his shoulder, and he's like, can you take this one? He's like, oh, I'm not dead.
Yeah.
I feel like the guy who's like, oh, I'm not dead. I think I'll go for a walk. And everyone's like, no, you have pneumonia. I mean Malcolm, fuck. And, I'm just like, you people are hysterical. You're ridiculous. I can't even. You people are, I'm healthier probably than all you people. Like, I know I smoke or whatever, but I could probably outrun all of you. I'm probably, just overall healthier and mentally not as unstable in such a way that would impact my mental health. Frickin' Buchenwald spends 8 hours a day in her bed. I'm willing to bet, so all these things. But to circle back,
So TV's on because they're watching all the stuff on the pandemic.
well, I would assume so, which is why I am kind of finagling it as a subtopic. But I was literally about to say, to circle back on why I sent that agenda item, and why it's really just kind of a bit upsetting to me, is that I remember, when I was a little kid, like a really little kid, if I was playing video games and people interrupted or turned the game off, I'd get pissed. You bitch, what the fuck? Whatever. And people, would tell me, stop being a bitch, it's antisocial behavior. And that sank in, and, I grew up, and for a long time have been at a point where if anyone interrupts any game for anything, I really don't give a shit.
Right.
So, with the television, and this has just been true for fucking ever, no one in my family, except me, and I guess maybe Tori, can fucking stand to miss a single word of whatever they're watching. It does not matter if it's a fucking commercial or if it's like Jeopardy or the news or anything. I will get screamed at for any kind of interruption, and the reason this bothers me is that typically after dinner, people just go to the TV room, and I've noticed two instances. The first with Miriam, the other with Buchenwald, where after dinner I'm having a conversation. I'm having a nice conversation. I'm engaging. I'm socializing. I'm trying to be a fucking person. And it's not allowed in the fucking house because the TV is on and everyone screams, "Can you stop fucking talking? Shut up!" And I'm like, can you bitches just turn the volume up? Like, but no, that's too much. It's too much, Bob. And, you know, I pointed this out to my mom. It's like, you people would bash me for like, what do you call this other than antisocial behavior? Like, why is this fucking TV more important than human fucking interaction around you? Like, you people are sick. You know what I mean?
You're on an incredible topic.
You know what I mean?
Discussion. Yeah, it's an amazing topic. Because the question is, I assume you told me before that TV's constantly on CNN. So people pass by, they're listening to it, it's getting in their heads, all that stuff. But you're saying it could be anything on TV. It could be a game show, could be a sitcom.
It could be The Bachelor. It could be the live coverage of the Capitol attack. It does not matter.
Okay. And what would be your interpretation of that?
I think they're hypnotized by television. Because I have been in just different situations where, you know, Andy's a great example because, you know, with a little toddler running around in his house and trying to attack the TV half the time with a baseball bat. And just the fact that we could speak and just engage each other while it's going, and if we miss a few things or a word here, like, who gives a shit, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's all have fun and like make fun of the show and crack jokes and stuff. But, you know, with them, it's like if the TV is on, it's like you're at the fucking movie theater, you know? So if you play something on your phone in the other room, you're basically fucking Satan.
Right. And who would you say is more annoying? The person who asks a question or the person who sticks his finger up to shush you?
I think it depends. You know, because if it's like the middle of like Game of Thrones and someone who's just not watched any of it and they're asking a question every other 30 seconds, like,
right,
that's annoying. But
yeah,
if you just like, I'll, you know, like if I just walk in the TV and there's something on the news and I just walked in, so I don't know what's going on, and I just go, "What's going on?" Shut up!
Yeah, okay.
You know, like, it's just really psychotic. It's really super antisocial, and I pointed this out to Miriam.
Very antisocial. That's your key point. It's so antisocial.
Yes, and I pointed this out to Miriam, and she actually thought I had a point.
Okay.
So I just don't know what to even do about it. Except maybe since I've converted Miriam, we can form a coalition and just yell and just hammer it into people's brains until they can just accept that you really don't need to listen to. I mean, for fuck's sakes, you people you can rewind the shit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, it's so, and I'm not kidding when I just say the levels of neuroticism, like, they cannot stand to miss one word of a fucking movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they spend like half an hour fucking rewinding it. And also, another evil of the TV is just the technology itself, the fact that, you know, I'll be minding my own business, and this has happened so often that the last time it did, where I heard, can you help? God damn it. Malcolm, can you help with the TV? I just said to them, you people are fucking adults. If I keep fixing the TV for you, you people are never gonna learn. And they're like, fuck you, thanks for nothing. And they keep screaming, so much so that I can't even do whatever I was doing. And I'm like, fine, I'll fucking help you. What's the problem? And they're screaming, I've spent 15 minutes on this. And it's stuck on, like, just some generic, like, channel. Like, you know, here's our TV features or some bullshit. And they're like, I can't get off this! And, you know, I play around with the remote for 30 seconds. And, then I just changed the channel. And that's it.
That's all it takes.
They just could not. They literally would just they just got somehow onto some random channel, and they just thought they were locked into some app or some shit. I have no idea, but
God forbid, yeah.
I literally was just like, you people fucking disgust me. I was so mad. I was so mad, you know?
Well, I mean, I would be mad too. I mean, TV's never been a focal part of my life. My life is never centered around the TV, you know? And some people, I didn't expect it was that level in your family, except for their addiction to CNN News, you know?
I mean,
Go ahead.
excuse me. I think having me in the house has somewhat, you know, de-radicalized their hingency on CNN. I mean, they're definitely all very much sort of cathedral acolytes. I've radicalized Yanni a bit, which is hilarious. But, you know, it's funny because, just to digress real quick, when we went to North Carolina to get a U-Haul and all this stuff, it was a really long road trip, so we listened to the 4.5 hour podcast that Joe Rogan did with Alex Jones.
Oh, okay.
And we had a good time. And, you know, just afterwards, when Buchenwald is just like, you know, violent hate, extreme Nazis like Alex Jones, and like me and Yanni just get real quiet. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, I'm a little lost, but to get back to the TV, they've just been like that forever, you know what I mean? So, and it's really just, as we've said, fucking antisocial as fuck, and I don't know what to do about it.
Well, you have a choice not to participate.
But, well, what do you mean?
I mean, go about your own business.
But if they're yelling at me to fix the TV for them,
You're right.
or if I'm just in,
you know?
pardon?
They're sucking you in.
Yeah, and just, you know, like I said, I'm not allowed to have a conversation in the other room with someone. You know, I would have to go into the basement or outside or upstairs, and it's just fucking ridiculous because it's not like we're even fucking yelling. Like,
Right. So the conversation with someone on the phone, you mean?
on the phone in person, with, like I said, I was having a nice combo with fucking, you know, Buchenwald and Miriam, and I just get yelled and bitched at for it. For being a fucking person, you know?
Is the TV off during dinner?
Usually, sometimes it's on in the background, but no one pays attention, so.
Okay. That is interesting. I mean, it's got to be maddening for you. Tie this into you talking about being the harbinger of of disease and everything else? Is it their fears that you, just because you exist in the outside world, that you're a candidate for COVID or something like that?
I mean, they will just always, I mean, it really becomes very much so like a Nazi Inquisition, just who have I interacted with and who have they interacted with, and and I don't even fucking go anywhere. Like, I just go to Dunkin's, the drive-through, and like that's pretty much it, So I don't know where they keep thinking, I'm going to a fucking Trump rally with no maskers,
Right. But as bright people, they must hear the recommendations from the, people talking about mental health problems related to COVID. And that's a huge one, constant in your face, all the time, listening to everything they say, watching everything, worrying about everything. I mean, that's not healthy at all.
Are you referring to the just overall kind of media hysteria?
Yeah. I mean, and people then becoming hysterical over it.
Mm-hmm.
The perfect example of your mother was when she was, I have to try to gauge this, telling me about you being sick and everything. I had to read and, say to myself, would I be a pain in the ass by checking in with Malcolm? Or, if he's really sick, I kind of like to talk to him, make sure he's okay. So I erred on the side of caution and said, well, I'm going to just call him and say hi anyway, and kind of get a read for myself, and then you explained everything to me, and I felt very good and reassured, that you weren't dying at that time. But holy cow, your mother was giving me these reports of, oh my God, that's why I said, have her do some harm reduction stuff, take your temperature every other day or something to reassure her, There's some things like that. But you can't stop living your life, because people might worry about what you're doing. That puts a lot of pressure on you.
I mean, I'm not a super, extrovert, so I don't think it's as bad as for me as it would be for other people. But when I thought back on, because I mentioned an episode or two ago, taking an Airbnb vacation.
Yep.
I mean, I thought about it and actually decided against even bringing it up because it would just be an instant shit show of like, you're getting COVID from strangers and you're bringing it back, and just not even worth it to me.
Right. Yeah, and I questioned so much of that, that contagion, the tracking or whatever they call it, were you close to this one have it, one guy on the team has it, so you shut down the team, that whole thing. Because, I mean, in my own experience, I don't know how the hell I got it. I pretty much, was a hermit for months, and went out to one occasion socially, which was an outdoor event at my daughter's house, and there are doctors and nurses there who took off their masks. I didn't, but
well, let me ask you this, Bob.
Yeah.
Were you wearing one mask or two?
I was wearing one.
Oh.
Yes. but a doctor came in, and with his girlfriend, who's a nurse, much younger than him, a nurse, he's a widower, doctor, and he had the mask on and the shield, whatever they call that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like double dutied when he walked in. And in about 45 minutes after he had a couple of whiskeys and stuff, the mask was off, the shield was off, And I'm thinking to myself, holy cow,
Yikes.
He can't be that worried, really,
Yeah, that's weird. You wouldn't think someone who would like go to that lengths would actually be like, fuck it.
Right. But other than like you, I go to Dunkin' Donuts, and I do have to run out, once or twice a week to pick a couple things up I need, necessity stuff. So I go to the local store, not the Stop and Shop per se, but, the local Tedeschi's or whatever, or 7-Eleven. And you just have to do some of this, you know. You have to live your life too.
Yeah. But
I mean, your mother. I know your mother's hypersensitivity to it.
Well, she's entitled to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely she is. You know, everybody's entitled to have their own feelings about it. But the question is, you know, if it impacts you, then you have to address it. I mean, do you feel like marginalized here?
In what way?
When you say their fear of disease, and you know, you feel sometimes like you're the harbinger.
I'm not dead. I feel fine.
Right.
Yeah, you are. You're dead as a doornail. You know, it's just.
I mean, they've used that routine in so many skits and comedy skits and stuff. You know, where the guy's in the casket and they think he's dead, all of a sudden he pops up. You know.
Yeah.
It never loses its comic. You know, the humor at all. It's funny every time you see it.
It's like they keep trying to shove me back into the coffin, and it's just like.
Right. You're dead.
Yeah.
They made a whole movie. Two of them. Weekend at Bernie's.
Never saw it.
Really schlocky, but you know, there were some laughs in it.
Word.
Especially the first one, because you know the idea was so ridiculous. That there's driving around with a dead guy, you know, in a convertible who's wearing sunglasses and stuff, you know, pretending he's alive. Yeah, I mean, really, you know, it's just the thought of it.
Yeah.
But they should have never done it too, because that was very bad. But I think they got enough out of the first one, just the kind of shock value, seeing them play this out. Then the other, you know, people around him making it work. It was pretty funny in places.
Nice. But, I'm not a movie guy, but maybe one day.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I sat down for a full movie, but I want to just circle back on agenda item 1 and just one, you know, thing before we close out. Any ideas for solutions whatsoever?
Regarding the TV issue?
For exercising the TV demons?
Well, I don't think you're going to change their behavior.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's the culture, the culture of the household. Except for two of you, maybe. You and Tori. So, I mean, I'm trying to visualize this, you know, you're having dinner, and then everybody adjourns to another room and starts watching the box. Is that sort of the nightly routine?
Yeah. I mean, the TV really is usually on all evening, so.
Okay. That's not unusual, like in most households, but, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's not the problem. The problem is just, like, you can't make a fucking sound without, you know, getting a nuclear bomb dropped on you.
I lived on Beacon Hill, and I had, there were 3 of us, and I had 2 roommates, and one guy was totally addicted to TV. It was his life. He'd grown up, you know, watching all these shows like The Monkees and everything else, and I never did in high school. I don't think I ever turned the TV on. I had too many other interests. And he would be watching a show, and, you know, we would walk in the room or something, and he would immediately put up his finger, you know, to allow us to be quiet, you know.
Oh, that's obnoxious.
It became obnoxious. One night, you know, we had been out drinking and came home, and he started pulling that, and my other roommate grabbed his finger and said, "I'm going to break the second thing off if you do that again." I thought it was great.
Did anyone ever just
so
like...
damn annoying. You know, you can have a room full of company, a little party, and he's watching his little TV in the middle of it, telling people to shh, be quiet, be quiet.
Oh my god.
And it didn't matter what the hell the show was. Could have been anything, you know, from Mr. Ed to Bonanza. You know, it was like, you know.
God, it sounds like a fucking kid that Willy Wonka should be torturing.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, it's bothering you, though. That's a problem. You know, when
it's just the antisocial element. Like, if they want to watch their shows, I don't give a shit. Like, you know,
right.
Whatever. People like TV. I got no problem with that.
Is there anything that you enjoy with them on TV?
The thing is, it's just I'm, you know, sometimes I'm antagonized just for my existence. Really, mostly just from Buchenwald.
Okay.
You know, because, I mean, she can just go in on me. Like, I can just sit down quietly for dinner and she'll start on me. And then my mom will be like, why are you going after him? Like, can you just stop? And she'll double down and be like, because he's a douchebag, bastard, asshole, drug addict, whatever. And it's just like, why is this necessary?
Yeah, well, well, the issue is hers, obviously, but what is it that you trigger off in here, do you think?
She has a natural allergy to me. I think it really just simply boils down to Keynesian contempt mixed with first child syndrome, and
Right.
by that I mean she likes to think she's the hyper intellectual of the house, but as mentioned, every single family member has told me at least once she's admitted that I'm smarter than her.
Right.
Vice versa has never happened.
Yeah, I'll bet.
You know, and that can just like, you know, she just it's almost like a brainwashed kind of thing where she just, you know, has to go after me no matter what. I remember a couple summers ago when she brought a friend over and we hung out, you know, just like at one point Buchenwald's like, Cam, you're being so fucking sketchy, and then her friend's like, he's not being sketchy, what are you talking about? And then another time she goes after me, and then her friend just goes, you are so mean to him.
Wow.
And it literally just goes out in one ear, out the other. Like, it just, anyone calling her out on it, doesn't matter who, it just does not register, you know. Who's the 2 Minutes of Hate guy from 1984? Is it Goldberg, something like that? I'm that guy.
Yeah.
You know, just always, forever, and will be public enemy number one.
Do you mean Bob the Bearcat Goldthwait?
Pardon?
Are you talking about the comedian?
No, I was referring to 1984. There's a guy for the 2 Minutes of Hate.
Oh, yeah, okay, got it, okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So she's just always going to hate my guts no matter what. But, you know, I still can have cordial conversations here and there, and that's getting a little better. And I'm even finding ways to call her out on shit that makes even her laugh at how ridiculous she is. So I guess I'm getting better.
Well, it sounds like you are her hobby, or her entertainment, or all of the above. You're certainly the focus. You're the focus.
Loves to hate.
Yeah.
Loves to hate.
Yeah. And you represent a certain element of individualism.
Well, I'm always the favorite too, is the problem.
Okay.
I'm enabled.
Yeah.
Literally this morning, like, you know, she went after me and she's like, turns to Miriam, goes, you enable him. And then, like, Miriam goes, like, I said something to, like, you know, spin it. And then she's like, I am enabling you by how much you go after him. Please just stop. Like,
Yeah.
this is silly. But,
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm good for Miriam. I mean, why go down that road all the time?
yeah.
But I mean, I think in the overall course of things, you've handled this pretty well. This reintegration into the family system, because I mean that is so hard to do, especially when you're the focal point of somebody who's displacing a lot of anger and other shit onto you. I mean, look up the concept, of displacement. Look it up, in a regular dictionary, or Freud's, description of displacement, because that's what you're getting. You're getting a lot of displacement. She's dumping on you a lot of feelings that she hasn't sorted out herself. Internalized stuff that's just got nowhere to go but right to you, Malcolm. You're the target.
The good news, though, for me is that there are much more terrifying bullies out there, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
she's like, I even said it last night. She's just like a valley girl that talks super ratchet. Like, I'm with the Crips, bitch. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, okay.
Has she had any kind of a life at all since she came back into the fold?
I mean, since she's come back, not that I can really comment on that I'm aware of. I mean, for one thing, she does have a lot of work, so that kind of sucks up a lot of her life.
Okay.
And I think she may be, calling friends here and there. I'm not sure, but, good for her, if so. And
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, she doesn't go out anywhere, so.
Regarding the TV thing, if you just didn't follow the flow and you went your own direction after dinner, up to your room or, something like that, you tap into your computer or read or something like that, would you be scorned for that?
Well, see, that's what typically happens, and no, I'm not scorned, because in that case, I'm silenced and away from the TV, so.
Okay. Until they need you. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that you're asking for solutions, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, and honestly, like, that's typically the solution, and which is why, for me, it's not even. Again, it's just really just really contemptible in my mind that when I'm having any kind of friendly conversation with anyone, that is, undervalued before the sacredness of fucking Jeopardy. Like, give me a fucking break. Grow up.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
But let's,
It's hard to, I'm thinking of the discussion we're having here, and it's kind of like discussions I remember taking place back when I was just a little kid. TV just started to come into play as, such a dominant force in the household, from, where certain families, were glued into it, and TV dinners came out, and some people started to get cable, and other people got color TVs, and there was this constant element of comparisons and jealousies, and within the neighborhoods, because everybody was so tight that you just existed as a community, and TV disrupted the shit out of that. And a lot of people would make comments, he's got a color TV, look at that, And then there was one goomba who used to bring out his TV onto his porch every night in the summertime. And the other people in the neighborhood were appalled that he would just sit there on his porch watching his TV, blasting as loud as it could, never sitting around trying to visit quietly on their porches. That was the time when it wasn't, you weren't a porch monkey. Everybody used their porches for socialization.
yeah.
But it feels like that's the kind of discussions, I feel like I'm back in that era when we're having this discussion.
Well, it's fascinating because I remember as a little kid that being a theme in, just some kids' books or whatever, like the fucking Berenstain Bears get a family TV addiction problem, like.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what it would be, yeah.
And it's I never even thought of it, but, that TV might have been like the beginning of the culture getting shitty, you know what I mean?
Oh, I played a part in it, no doubt about it.
Just like to go to everything you're saying about community disruption and everything. I mean, I don't think it was something anyone really anticipated, and, maybe people weren't pricks and played their TV on their porch at a normal volume and maybe invited some people over to watch with them,
Right.
Could have been a not so bad a thing, but.
Exactly, could have worked the other way. It could have worked the other way. I just remember one of my aunts, there was a commercial, I think it might have been for shampoo, and it showed the lady's ankle in the bathtub, and she went nuts when she saw that. It was like she'd seen full frontal nudity. And she talked about that almost every time we get together. She'd say, "Did you see that commercial? Did anybody see that commercial?"
Oh, God.
That is so disgusting.
I don't know how that person would manage the internet.
Yeah, would not. It was like we all got together to watch the Beatles, and my Goomba, and he just went wild, you know.
Mm.
This is what destroys our kids today. There it is, right there. Get that long hair. Listen to that music. And all the kids are like just glued to it.
Yeah.
But as a cultural element, you know, you have the TV is huge. Marshall McLuhan wrote a lot about that back in the 60s. And when he wrote about those sorts of things, cultural influences in the advertising world, and you know, all of those elements that it changed. It did change society.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to your other things so we can get them all in, okay?
Word. So, this we probably won't spend as much time on, but do you recall number 2 about, I was just curious since, you know, you had some work with the military, if you had heard anything about, you know, purging the domestic terrorists in the ranks.
Yeah. As I told you, the short-term memory issue, so trying to remember number 2, how you worded it. Tell me how you worded it again.
Oh, shit, I don't remember. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Because the big issue now is that, you know, one of, you know, civil liberties issue, and it's huge in the military, you know, when they've got these idiots who are saying, you know...
Oh, hold on a second, Bob, time out. And we're back. So the way I phrased it was, if you knew anything about Biden's crackdown on quote-unquote extremism within the U.S. military.
Yeah, it's a huge issue. It's just exploding all over the place. But I mean, it's making him look like a real asshole, basically. The military don't like it. They've already shown, you know, when they took those National Guard guys out of off duty because they were concerned that they might have been extremists. And nobody's quite sure how they identified these issues. You know, how do you say that person is an extremist? Maybe because that person visited a website one time, look at the information. You ever heard about Proud Boys and said, what's this all about? But it's it really reeks to me of fascism, because they really are stepping on people's civil liberties and their rights all over the place. And when you start doing it in the military, the ripple effect is incredible. It just breaks down the morale in the ranks, and you know, who can you trust and not trust, and it instills an element of fear that affects their performance, basically.
So, do you have...
People in the military are nervous. They're real nervous. Because a lot of them happen to be, you know, supporters of Trump. They happen to think that way. They're right about a lot of their thoughts. They know that this thing about, you know, opening up the borders is making the country less secure. It's inviting in more COVID, which makes the country less secure. So they're not happy about it. And, you know, to turn on any TV show and watch the debates, you know, the liberals will, they somehow spin it, you know, and then Tucker Carlson's in the world to just have these guys out and just tell the truth. This is an infringement on our rights, basically. We didn't sign up for this.
So, I'm, hold on. So, just being the eternal devil's advocate, so, you think, so my impression is from the ones from the National Guard that were removed, there's just no really transparency, so we don't quite know whether or not these were people who were Trump voters or people who were like plotting on Parler, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, but either way, I just think it's a really, really bad move to just be giving loyalty tests unless you discover like a specific, like, okay, one guy had, you know, blueprints to the White House and Biden's office circled, and, you know, a pipe bomb that he was making that no one knew about. Okay, that's one thing, but like the second, I think once you politicize, and it was interesting because me and Andy once had this discussion about, you know, what would happen if Trump staged like a real like military coup and like an all-out civil war broke out and stuff, and You know, how his buddy in the military was saying how, you know, the U.S. Army is just very, like, very adverse to stepping into any kind of political thing, which is, to me, like, it's really a distinguishing feature that kind of separates us from, say, oh, I don't know, ancient Rome, where you can get military dictatorships based on who the troops just happen to be loyal to.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, once you start attacking that element, that's, to me, that's a very alarming sign. If, you know, you gotta see how far they go with it, but that could be a real, you know, seed of some fucked up shit down the road.
Oh, I see it as causing a lot of issues. Because I've seen every kind of screening device they use for people going into the military, and I've never seen one, you know, a loyalty test, so to speak. I'm sure they're out there, but, you know, I know that they question them on their loyalty, you know, to God, their country, and the flag. There's a lot of that, but I've never seen it done in a formal way, you know, that might have some significant, like a psychological eval, that might have some statistical validity to it. So I think they're making it up as they go along, basically. You know, first, like when that psychiatrist, I don't know if you remember that, when he killed all those people at the big base, I think it was down in Texas. You remember that? He was a psychiatrist in the Army, and one day just killed a lot of people, a lot of military people.
When was that? That does sound familiar.
It was shortly after 9/11, when everybody became Islamophobic, and Obama was president, because he had gone on his apology tour, and everybody was afraid to say anything bad about Muslims. So even if they knew, and this guy gave off enough signs, he gave lectures that basically put down the values, Judeo-Christian values that this country was built on, and talked about Muslim values, you know, Allah, things like that, in open lectures. And they knew about it. The military knew about it. They were afraid to do anything because they didn't want to be accused of racism. And, you know, they had enough clues to really, he was a guy they should have investigated. And no, he just then went off one day and killed a bunch of people on base. And he was supposed to be evaluating them. So that, you know, after that, they got a little gun shy. But, you know, then it sort of toned down, and there wasn't much, didn't hear much about that, other than individual incidences that would occur within the military. But now this stuff is just ridiculous. It's insane. It's like China, you know, doing their social evaluations of people, you know, by having millions and millions of cameras all over the place and looking at every single behavior. It really is. It reeks of that. It's scary. I don't like it at all.
Well, we can just laugh our ways through the gulags, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was saying, you know, the early pictures that, excuse me, the early pictures that came out of Wuhan, and you didn't see much on TV of this. I saw a lot of it on some of the videos I got from the military, the ones that erase after you look at them, where they were yanking people out of their homes, you know, to vaccinate them, or, you know, somehow to see if they had the virus. I mean, they just pulled these people out of their beds, little kids and everything. And, you know, I don't know what happened to half of them, whether they just killed them or whatever. But, I mean, you could see them doing that here. You know, it's getting to that point. They start, you know, going in and invading people's privacies and pulling them out of their homes. And I don't think that's extreme thinking. Maybe it is today, but we're not too far away from that. You know, you're not cooperating, you know. We have a 96% cooperation level, and you're not cooperating. You know, you need to come with us. And that sort of thing is just too Orwellian for me. And for a lot of people, for you too, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I vacillate between optimism and, black pill. I don't know, man. I really don't.
Between optimism and what? Black pill?
Yeah, that's a term for like utter nihilism.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit. It's just really hard to say because I think this is something, I think the real totalitarianism is going to sneak in. It's not going to necessarily bust down the door,
Yeah, I know. I think that if some of the liberals were not so entrenched in, believing that everything that the Democrats say and do is 100% on target, that people would open their eyes and just look at the election. I mean, Biden was hiding Biden. They kept him out. They basically said, look, you're going to be our figurehead, but we'll just keep you buried until the election. Let us take it.
Dude, I will send you something I was actually watching before you called. It's funny, I try to be aware of what news sources I listen to and try to bounce around a bit, but I've been listening to a lot of Timcast IRL, and he was talking about how a Time, magazine or whatever, article, literally, like, the words in the article, like, he showed it on the screen, I saw, that an elitist cabal basically conspired to fucking, this was their phrasing, not rigging the election so much as fortifying it.
I saw that. That article just came out this week.
So,
yeah, I heard about the cabal.
I mean, it's just fucking wild,
Yeah.
I'll have to read the article sometime, but it's just, it's just the funny thing is to me is something that'll come up in my non-fictions, the parallels between, in my mind, 9/11 and sort of the Russian hack / quote-unquote interference, election interference, whereas after 9/11 we started torturing people, and it's like, oh shit, we were the terrorists the whole time. And drone striking, all that shit. But with Russia, it's just like the disinformation, the state. It really is just like we are Russia. We have been Russia the whole fucking time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, as far as just how complete how the state and media and technocrats and all the motherfuckers, oligarchs, just work hand in glove.
Yep. I think about that, the military-industrial complex. It's really not the technology-industrial complex. Because the tech people just have so much power. They're like one big censoring stamp. And they were part of the cabal. I don't know if you know. Where did you read this article?
So I haven't read the article yet, but I was watching the Tim Pool podcast, and he was putting it up on the screen and reading parts of it and etc. So I haven't actually read the full article yet, but I mean, just the language in it is fucking wild. Like, what?
Yeah, if you can send that to me, either the Tim Pool, is discussing it, or the actual article. If you read it, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
I could just go out and buy a Time magazine and read it too, I guess. Even though the Time magazine still existed.
Well, at the very least, the podcast is free, and they'll get through the good parts.
Okay. Listen, we got about 5 minutes or so left. So, did you want to do your other one?
Yeah, and this is more of just a rant than a discussion, I guess.
I love rants. Go for it.
Yeah, just because I had a few days where I ran out of Sertraline, and really reminded me why it was good for me to be on Sertraline, because I was, for a few days, particularly the day I didn't sleep at all this week, pretty nasty to some folks.
Yeah.
Did you get any texts from Miriam about that?
No, only that you minimized her cancer or something like that.
I don't know. See, I must have either blacked out because I remember some of the mean things I said, and that one about like mitigating her cancer. I honestly don't know what she's talking about. It's possible that I was blacked out and said something,
Right.
but I really don't know what she's referring to because I don't recall anything like saying like, "Oh, you don't have cancer," or "I hope you have," or anything like that.
Yeah, but I think that I mean, from the very beginning, her cancer's been somewhat vague. So I think she's been kind of, sensitive to any discussions about it because she doesn't have an aggressive form of cancer, and she certainly doesn't, have, anything to the level of what I have or have gone through. But that's, there's a difference in people, But the thing is, that was something I wanted to talk to you about was the sertraline, because I really wanted to know what you felt and what you experienced when you weren't taking it.
So, I made a reference to something that I'm like building on an ancient Greek idea with, I call it the curse of Ares. Ares was the Greek god of war, and for a long, when I was a little kid, I remember reading that the Greeks actually didn't really respect Ares, which was kind of baffling to me because I'm like, these are people who are at war all the time. You would think their god of war, they would kind of see him as the ultimate badass, the way the Romans kind of saw Mars, but they worshipped more, they prayed more to Athena, who was a god of war and wisdom. So you think more discipline, and you want wisdom for every stage of deciding to go into war, how you fight and how you deal with it after. But I think they saw Ares more as like just destructive, wild, childish, hysterical, swinging at everything. And that's kind of how I felt. I really, for a few days, really wanted to tell everyone exactly why I hated their guts. And everything about them, Medusa didn't come up for much of sort of my Madden fever, but there was one night where she did, and I just imagined, getting a little medieval, and it's interesting because the more I leaned into, the visceralness, it actually made me feel more calm and at peace.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I kind of felt like a sick bastard for that, which further ties into a sort of expansion of what I'm calling the curse of Ares, where they also had a theory, and I'm not sure how much substance there is or is not to it, but there was this idea of sort of the PTSD war mad warrior, where they're constantly haunted by the horrors of what they did and saw, but the only way to escape it, the only thing that is intense enough to take their minds off it, is further violence. And basically it's sort of the intensity of battle is the only thing that can take their minds off the horror of wars, and you can see how that becomes a self-perpetuating cycle.
Yeah. Well, when I think sertraline and some of those meds, I mean, one of the things that you read it, some of the clinical stuff, is it contains rage. And if you were feeling like you were raging internally, then you know why you're taking the medication. Sometimes, the best way to evaluate the success of medication is to stop taking it and see what happens. I don't recommend that, but you do realize the benefits.
Yeah,
So you were able to get that refilled and everything?
Yeah, so I'm good now, but it really took me back to a couple years ago where I was like, wow, I am just so full of fucking hate, I don't want to live, homie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
You do realize the benefits.
Yeah, so, it is what it is, but...
And there definitely is a biochemical connection. And my item is something we can talk about anytime. It's just my observations about the increased transgender, all elements of that, especially with young kids and young girls in particular.
Wait, what are you talking about?
There's just been such an influx of, the social media stuff on TV is beyond belief. And I only watch things like HBO, and they have a series now where a girl's going through some transgender issues. And in reading through the literature, it's sort of like, 10 times what it was 5 years ago. People questioning that, their transgenderism.
Yeah.
Mostly in females.
Yeah, I remember hearing Candace Owens talk about this. I do think, there are people who legit have body dysmorphia and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there is something that seems weirdly fatty about the trans thing, and almost like pushed on kids more, and I don't even know. And
you've got it. That's exactly what I would have said.
Yeah.
And that's exactly one of my thoughts. The damage is that, when you've got that's what high school it was. This white girl was like a state champion and an Olympic hopeful, and then two black guys who claimed to be transgender stepped into the track field, and now she's gone from first to third. And Tammy Bruce, who's a lesbian, I don't know if you've ever seen her, she's really good. She said, this blows apart, Title 10 or Title 20, whatever the hell that was, and that's recognizing, females should have the same access to certain things as males, and males and females are different. Peterson, same thing. That gets him in trouble with the woke people. So, yeah, we can talk about that at another time. But there is a real fattest piece to this,
Yeah.
Almost trendy.
It's like I saw. There's one more podcast I would recommend, and I would actually recommend watching the video, just because they show trailers and they show different clips and stuff. But Legion of Skanks made fun of a trailer where Justin Timberlake's like some ex-convict, and he's like raising some little boy who's dressing up like a girl and a fairy and stuff, and it's supposed to be this heartwarming thing, and they he's pointing to the TV, and it's got these 3 cartoon fairy girls on it, and he's like, "Do you see any boys on here?" And the kid goes, "No." And Justin Timberlake goes, "What does that tell you?" And the kid goes, "That I can be the first."
Oh man. Brainwashing at work.
Yeah.
Alright, listen, Malcolm, I have to run, okay?
Alright, peace out, man.
So, keep in touch with me during the week, alright?
Alright, will do.
Let me know how things are going. Thanks for posting those. Also, I haven't gotten through the other one yet. I'm so extremely busy. Busier than I've been in a long time. And so I'm just sort of doing what I can do and trying to get a schedule together that I keep changing. But
yeah, man, don't worry about listening back to any of our like, I'll still send them to you, but don't listening to any of them. You were there.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I consider that one of my pleasurable activities. So you take care, all right?
All right, you too, Sir Bobbert.
Good luck with everything, all right?
All right.
Put a blue screen on that TV.
Yeah.
That's what people actually did in the early days. They would put a colored screen and say they had colored TV. They put a color filter on their TV.
Oh.
Like a blue or a pink. And
God,
they
that's
colored TV, yeah.
that's some dinosaur shit.
Things happen, Malcolm. Yep.
All right,
Talk to you
take care,
later, man.
Bob. Talk to you later. Peace.
Sign out.